Xyrix never believed in the stories about Earth. They were just that, stories. Tales passed around by veteran traders in the galaxy's dimly lit bars, tales meant to rattle the newer, greener traders. But when he read the destination on his assignment screen, his blood ran cold. Route, Earth? Xyrix stared at the screen, half expecting it to flicker and display something else, something safer. He was a proud member of the Zelenair species, known for their calm demeanor, calculating minds and utter aversion to risk. He'd made a successful career by sticking to safe routes and trading only with the galaxy's most stable, predictable civilizations. He'd heard enough to know Earth was none of those things. His door beeped, and he barely had time to compose himself before it slid open to reveal Varric, his boss, a broad-shouldered reptilian alien with rough, scaly skin and a face that looked carved from stone. Xyrix, Varric grunted, his voice a low growl. I assume you've seen your assignment? Xyrix swallowed, trying to sound braver than he felt. Yes, sir. There must be some mistake. Surely I'm better suited to a safer route? Varric's expression didn't change. No mistake. Earth is a goldmine of rare resources and untapped trading potential. We need reliable traders there, someone who won't mess it up. He gave Xyrix a hard look, his reptilian eyes narrowing. Or do you have a problem with that? Xyrix's mind raced. He'd heard all the rumors. Humans with their chaotic emotions, dangerous wildlife, unpredictable weather systems, and worst of all, their governments, constantly in conflict, always on the brink of discovering alien life, despite their primitive technology. But backing down from an assignment was career suicide in the Trade Federation. He forced a smile, though his voice came out shaky. Of course not, sir. I'll manage. Varric smirked, unconvinced. Good. Earth can be tricky. But high risk means high reward. Handle this well, Xyrix, and you'll be on a fast track to more important routes. With that, Varric turned and left, leaving Xyrix standing alone, his mind spinning. He needed advice. And he knew exactly who to talk to. Glips, a wiry alien with 6 thin arms and an unmistakable laugh, looked horrified when Xyrix mentioned his new route. Earth? Glips whispered, glancing around as if the humans might somehow hear him from light years away. Are you insane? You can't go there. Do you know how many traders never return from that planet? Xyrix sighed, tapping his claws nervously on the table between them. But it can't be that bad, right? I mean, it's just humans. They're barely out of their own solar system. Glips leaned in, his eyes wide. Humans are terrifying, Xyrix. They have this unpredictability. And don't get me started on their governments, always warring, competing. They'd sell their own kind if it meant a quick profit. One wrong move and you're toast. Xyrix's claws tapped faster. He'd been hoping Glips would have some loophole, some way out. But Glips shook his head solemnly. There's no escaping Earth once you're assigned. But listen, there's one piece of advice I can give you. Xyrix leaned in eagerly. Yes. Blend in. Humans are suspicious. Try to avoid direct contact, don't attract attention, and whatever you do, don't underestimate them. They may seem primitive, but they're clever. And they're paranoid. If they get a whiff of something alien, you're done. Xyrix's stomach churned. This was worse than he thought. But it was too late to back out now. Thanks, Glips, he muttered, though his gratitude felt hollow. Glips nodded, giving him a small pat on his shoulder before leaving Xyrix to his anxious thoughts. Hours later, Xyrix sat alone in his sleek, silvery ship, staring at the vast darkness of space outside his viewport. Earth was waiting somewhere on the other side of that darkness. He pulled up every report he could find on human behavior, on Earth's environment, on its governments, even on its food, any piece of information that might help him survive this route. He read about the planet's strange weather patterns, the sprawling cities, the languages, thousands of them, each with its own nuances. He saw images of humans smiling, laughing, fighting, marching in groups, shouting at their leaders, celebrating in strange rituals. They were unsettling. He couldn't find a single reliable pattern in their behavior. And the more he read, the more his nervousness grew. Then came the final report. The headline read, Restricted Earth, Known Risk Factors for Alien Species. It was a list of traders who'd been assigned to Earth. Out of the 50 names, only 12 had returned. Xyrix closed his eyes and took a deep breath. This was it. His career, or his life, depended on this mission. After a long pause, he activated his ship's engines. The thrusters hummed to life and he set his course for Earth, dreading what awaited him. As his ship launched into the darkness, he couldn't shake the sinking feeling that he was leaving everything he knew and plunging into a planet of chaos. Xyrix's ship shuddered as it broke through Earth's thick atmosphere, clouds streaming past the viewport in a blur. His scanners displayed a vast, green forest stretching below him, and his nerves spiked. He engaged his cloaking shield, ensuring the humans wouldn't detect his landing. The last thing he needed was to be spotted by Earth's unpredictable locals. The ship touched down in a clearing and Xyrix took a steadying breath. Before he could second-guess himself, the hatch hissed open, and he stepped onto Earth's soil, the humid air thick with unfamiliar scents and sounds. Trees loomed above him, their leaves rustling in a gentle breeze that felt both soothing and alien. Xyrix, I presume? He nearly jumped out of his skin. Spinning around, he found a human woman standing at the edge of the clearing, arms crossed. She was tall, with sharp features and an unreadable expression. I'm Mara, she continued, taking a few steps forward. Your liaison for Earth. I'll be helping you navigate our unique situation here. Xyrix struggled to hide his unease. Right, Mara. I appreciate the assistance. She raised an eyebrow. Let's get moving. Standing out here isn't exactly subtle. He nodded, following her down a narrow path through the dense trees. As they walked, Mara offered a crash course on Earth's realities. Humans are tricky, she began, glancing back at him. They're always looking for explanations to things they don't understand, but they also love to deny anything outside their worldview. So if you make a mistake and draw attention, they'll find a way to explain it away, but it'll complicate things for you. Xyrix swallowed, wondering if he could have possibly prepared for this. They eventually reached a small clearing where a beaten-up alien craft rested in the shadows. Another alien, short and wiry with greenish-gray skin and large, black eyes, waved as they approached. Xyrix, the alien said with a grin, voice warm and raspy. I'm Jax. Welcome to the jungle, friend. Xyrix shook his hand, feeling a strange comfort in meeting another alien here. Jax, you've been stationed here long? Oh, a few Earth years, Jax replied. Long enough to learn the ropes. Humans are weird, but once you know how to talk to them, it's not so bad. Mara snorted. Not so bad if you ignore the risk of getting caught. Listen, Xyrix, Earth is lucrative, but only if you're smart. Stick to small trades, keep a low profile, and remember that humans are obsessed with money. You want to succeed here? Appeal to their greed. They'll do almost anything if they think there's a profit. Jax added, just don't try anything flashy. No levitating, no fancy tech, and definitely no mind control. Humans notice everything, especially when it's out of the ordinary. Xyrix nodded, taking in their advice. The planet seemed even more dangerous than he'd imagined, but he was already here. Backing out wasn't an option. All right, he said, steeling himself. I'll keep a low profile. Mara smirked, a glint of amusement in her eyes. Good. Then let's see if you've got what it takes to survive Earth. Xyrix took a deep breath as he entered the bustling human market, the sounds and scents overwhelming his senses. Humans were everywhere, moving in packs, their voices blending into a chaotic hum. He focused on staying inconspicuous, keeping his hood low to cover the subtle green tint of his skin. Nina, his contact, spotted him first. She was a sharp-eyed human with a confident stride, and she slid up beside him with an easy, practiced motion. You're blending in, mostly, she muttered with a smirk. But try not to look so terrified. People might think you're up to something. Xyrix attempted a relaxed smile, but it came out more as a grimace. Nina chuckled. Look, I know you're new to Earth, but you'll get used to it. Humans have a weakness for the exotic. Give them a hint of mystery, and they'll throw their money at you. They weaved through the stalls until they reached a quieter corner, where Nina stopped in front of a rickety table filled with exotic items she had prepped for him to sell, strange-looking stones, small vials of fluorescent powders, and peculiar trinkets that seemed almost magical to Earth eyes but were little more than scrap from other worlds. All right, Nina said, gesturing to the items. These will draw interest. Remember, don't say too much. The less they know, the more they'll want to buy. Xyrix nodded, but before he could ask more, a loud, confident human with a suspicious gaze approached. What's all this? He asked, picking up a vial of glowing powder. Looks like some kind of alien junk. Xyrix's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly remembered Jax's advice. These are rare finds, he said, trying to sound casual. They have special qualities? The man eyed him, intrigued but wary. Nina stepped in smoothly, flashing a grin. You've got a good eye. We get these from, let's say, some very exclusive suppliers. Her tone hinted at mystery, and the man's interest piqued. He purchased a vial, grumbling but clearly fascinated. Xyrix relaxed slightly, starting to feel he might get through the day without drawing too much attention. But just as he settled, Nina's expression shifted. She leaned in, her voice low. "We've got company, don't look now, but there's a cop watching us. Goes by Sergeant Ruiz. He's been sniffing around looking for anything out of the ordinary." Xyrix's stomach tightened. He'd been warned about Earth's authorities, their fascination with uncovering secrets, especially alien ones. He subtly glanced over his shoulder, catching a glimpse of Ruiz, a tall, intense man with sharp eyes trained on them. Nina gave a reassuring nudge. "Just stay calm. Follow me, I'll get us out of here." She led him down a narrow alleyway, her pace quick but casual. As they reached the end of the alley, Ruiz's voice called out from behind. "You there? Hold up." Xyrix's pulse raced, but Nina shot him a confident look. "Relax," she whispered. She turned to Ruiz with a bright smile. "Sergeant, we were just leaving. No funny business here." Ruiz's gaze lingered on Xyrix, suspicion evident, but he eventually backed off, muttering as he left. Once they were clear, Xyrix let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Nina chuckled. "Welcome to Earth, Xyrix. You're going to need nerves of steel if you want to survive here." Xyrix's nerves were on edge as he stepped into the dimly lit, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. This was supposed to be his last trade on Earth, a final high-stakes deal that would let him make enough profit to cover all his costs and get off this chaotic planet. Nina had arranged the meeting, claiming it would be quick and easy, but something felt wrong. He scanned the shadows, his eyes adjusting to the faint light that filtered through broken windows high above. Nina waited by a stack of crates, giving him a quick nod. "Keep calm, Xyrix. We're in and out. Just follow my lead." But even Nina looked uneasy. Xyrix could sense it, the way she kept glancing at the warehouse doors and shifting her weight. Before he could question her, footsteps echoed from the other side of the room. A tall human in military attire entered, his presence radiating authority. This wasn't their buyer. This was Captain Alvarez, a high-ranking officer known for his relentless pursuit of anything out of the ordinary. And by the look on his face, he was here for them. "Nina Santos," Alvarez said, his voice cold, eyes narrowing on her. "And an unidentified associate. So, you've been bringing alien goods into our city, haven't you?" Nina's face hardened, but she played it cool. "Captain, I don't know what you're talking about. Just some harmless imports?" Alvarez's smirk was chilling. "Harmless? I don't think so. We've been tracking you both for a while." He gestured to his men, who began to close in around them, weapons drawn. Panic surged through Xyrix. This was exactly the kind of confrontation he dreaded, the kind that could end with him exposed, or worse. He looked to Nina, who gave him a quick, desperate signal. There was no time for words. They had to run. As Alvarez barked orders, Nina grabbed Xyrix's arm, yanking him toward a side exit. They dashed down a narrow corridor, the sound of boots and shouts growing louder behind them. Xyrix's mind raced. He'd need to reach his ship and escape Earth, but that felt impossible with the authorities so close on their heels. Just as they rounded a corner, the corridor opened up to the outside. And there, parked behind the warehouse, was a familiar, scrappy-looking alien vessel, Jax's ship. Jax leaned out of the cockpit, waving frantically. "Get in?" Jax yelled, eyes wide with urgency. Xyrix didn't need to be told twice. He scrambled into the vessel, Nina close behind as Alvarez's men burst through the doorway. Jax fired up the engines, the ship's thrusters roaring to life. Shots rang out, bullets ricocheting off the hull as they lifted off, just barely escaping the reach of Earth's authorities. As they soared into the sky, Xyrix glanced down at the city below, his heart pounding. He had survived Earth, barely. He looked at Nina, who flashed him a small, weary smile. "See? I told you humans are trouble. But you made it." Xyrix let out a shaky laugh, relief flooding over him. Earth had been as dangerous and unpredictable as he'd feared, but he'd faced it and survived. Now, as they shot back into the quiet safety of space, he silently vowed, no matter the reward, he'd never set foot on Earth again.